Good afternoon. Hello and welcome. I'm Gary Jacobs, CEO, co-founder of FKC, and this is my colleague, Alana. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Alana, Senior Account Director. I've been working at FKC for about 2 years now, and my background's been across multiple different agencies, so some WPP side, and also some sort of independent agency side as well.
Thank you. Listen, guys, whilst we're waiting for people to come in, so we need to give it a few minutes. This is unusual for us because we've run webinars in the past using Zoom so we can see who's there. With this technology, with LinkedIn and YouTube Live, we actually don't know who's there. I've got 151 people who've signed up, and I want to shout out to some of the guys because it's great to see some names of people that have come to have a chat with us today. And this is very much a chat. It's a conversation that we wanted to start. It's not a presentation. And if we get into presentation mode, please put in the chat, stop presenting. We're not here to sell. We're here to just have a dialogue and open up a conversation. During lockdown, because we do a fair bit of work in the travel industry, back in the sort of early mid 2020s, we did a series of webinars for the travel and tourism people, just so that there was a place to come and talk about what was not happening, what was going on, that everybody working from home, traveling the doldrums and so on. And we'd get about 20, 30 people there on average, and it was a chat. Here we've got about 150 odd people that have signed up to it, which really resonates for me in the fact that making your marketing budgets work effectively is obviously catching people's attention. And by the end of it, if I remember to ask, if it hasn't had any value, and there are other things that you'd like us to think about, talk about, or you want to actually float an idea and say, it'd be good to have a discussion about X, Y, or Z, then please do tell us. But please do let us know if you're here. Put in the chat who you are, where you're coming from. Scott Warren, for example, from Toronto. I don't know if you're with us today, Scott, but Scott and I go back many, many years, and it's good to actually know that people like that are actually joining our conversation today. So please do tell us. Just stick in the chat who you are, where you come from, why you're here. What's the reason that you turned up today? Otherwise, I think it might be Alana and I just talking to each other. Somebody's going to watch this on catch up because you can watch it on LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live. So I'm going to just give a couple of shout outs from the list of people that actually did sign up, because I know we've got a few of our clients have signed up today, and from the likes of FFAT, John and Peter from Wash and Go. We're going to be talking about Wash and Go during the next 30 minutes or so. Great if you're here. If you're not here and you're watching on catch up, then let me know if anything I said was untoward or I missed anything out. And what's really gratifying to see is that there are a number of agencies that are here. In fact, I think Lucy, Jill and Selwyn from Lab that we've shared space with over the years. Just to see that other agencies recognise that making your marketing budgets work efficiently is really important. And we're not here to preach at all. What we're here to do is just open up the conversation and have the dialogue. And in fact, it's we can all learn. If I ask the question why are we doing this? These are observations. So I've been running FKC 27 years. We've been around since '95, and I've been in the industry for 45 years. And there are certain times where you just don't want to have the conversation. You feel awkward about talking to a client about the things that we feel could be done more effectively. But I'm learning a lot from clients, and this is why we're here, to share things that we know that work, to learn things from you that we might be missing, and to create a dialogue about the things that we often talk about in the pub or around the water cooler that are irritating us, but we haven't got we don't actually bring it out into the open. We don't often talk about it. We just accept. So this is stuff that's really, really important and that we should be talking about. So let's kick off and we'll pick up again on some of that stuff as we go. This is not a commercial break by any stretch of the imagination. That's going to come at the very end. But I just want to give resonance to why we believe that we have the authority, if you want to use that word, to sit here and talk. We are FKC, been around for 25 years. Our positioning is about clever, creative, and big results, because we recognise that if we're not delivering good quality creative, which comes out of good quality briefing, and we're not delivering the big results, then we shouldn't be doing it. We should just pack up and go home. And we've always delivered outstanding results for our clients since 1995. Now, caveat that with the Carlsberg ad, probably. We like to think we do, and I'm sure maybe some people say, well, actually, you didn't in 2003. We always aim to deliver. Our mantra is to always improve and better our understanding of consumer insights, etc. So we are a through-line comms agency, 27 years. We do have 4 core sector specialisms: retail, travel and tourism, health and personal care, which takes in FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, and casual dining. You take a few of those, they were decimated through COVID, and really tough time for a lot of our clients, but it's good to see them bouncing back. And we cover the spectrum from strategy, creative, production, delivery, working as a through-the-line agency with our clients. That is all I'm really going to say about FKC, but it just gives credibility of why we can talk about how we can talk about making their budgets work as effectively as possible. So before I hand over to Alana, listen, we're going to talk about a number of things. We've got a couple of polls to run, but I always remember, if I take one thing away from a seminar or if I go to a workshop, just one thing which improves the way I do things, then that's fantastic. Because as I said, we're not here to teach you to suck eggs. Tell us at the end of it if you felt that I've wasted half an hour of your time today. Please tell me. I don't want to do that again. But if there's through understanding how insights are so vitally important, setting objectives that the agency understands, and it's not just we want to sell more product, but what are the objectives overall? And there can often be more than one objective in the market. Again, that's stating the blindly obvious. But what are the overall objectives for the business? And question the agency, question your strategy, question your brief, question why you're doing things. And I think always asking questions really does take you further down the line of effectivity. And we've been very fortunate to have won the St Kitts tourism account recently, and I went over with Sean, our creative director, to St Kitts back in April, I think it was. And one of the lovely things that they have is painted around a number of places is rush slowly. And we know we're in an industry where things happen quickly, but the slower you can do things quickly, the more effective and the better the results, because we need time to do things strategically, creatively, production. And it's not about just, can we have more time, please, because we're busy on other stuff. Quality comes out of doing things in a measured way. But we recognise certain things come up out of nowhere and they've got to be done quickly. And yet we get that. But the longer we have to rush slowly, the more effective marketing budgets can be spent and better return on marketing investment. So I'll come back to that again a bit later. Big question, effectively means different things to different people. Alana, take it away.
Yeah, so thanks, Gary. So I think, like Gary was saying, ask lots of questions. I actually have a couple of questions that I want to talk to you about. So I want this session to be as interactive as possible. I'm going to ask 2 questions, and I'd like you to pop your answers in the chat. So you should have access to a chat function. And at the end, we'll sort of review them. We can send around the results at the end, or we can have a quick catch up and see what maybe is most popular. But yeah, as we just sort of saw on the slide before this, the first question I want to ask you, so when it comes to making your budgets work more effectively, what does effectively mean to you? So you'll see a few prompts here, or what we think effectively means. Does it mean an increase in sales, awareness, perhaps winning awards, a return on marketing investment, or maybe it's something completely different? So either pop down a number in the chat now if you can have a think what it sort of means to you, or if it's other, then we want to hear from you and we want to know what else it could potentially mean. So just give a few seconds so that we can see some answers come through in the chat, and then Richard is kindly going to collate those for us. I want it to be quite impulsive, so don't sort of take too long thinking about it. Just just have a quick think and then pop through an answer.
I'm worried, Alana, it's just you and me here. Nobody said hello to us. Anybody there? I've seen that Daniel signed up from the Hive, and we're talking a bit about about Barnet Football Club a little bit later. And Jen Edwards, are you there? Be nice to know if we're talking to anybody. Okay, Lana, have we had any?
We've got a few responses in, so a bit mixed at the minute, but it's obviously good to see what everybody thinks effectively means, what effectively means to them. I think, continue popping results in the chat, and then I'll move on to the next question.
Just one thing there, Alana, before you move on. Things like increase in sales. The question is really important. Is are you able to measure that increase in sales? And we've often spoken to clients about going on to a payment by results basis, because we're very happy to put our money where our mouths are, if that's the right expression. Yeah. But it's often difficult for some brands to actually be able to track that efficacy of measuring where that spend's coming from. They might have a last click acquisition model, but actually, when you look for an objective, is it tangible? Is it deliverable? Is it measurable? And I think that's really important for us as for agencies to understand that. Okay, I think you ready to move on?
Yeah, I think let's move on to the next question. So my next question is, what challenges get in the way of marketing budget efficiency? So again, we've looked at some of the things that get in the way for us, but there are bound to be others that frustrate you or that might get in the way. So I'll let you read through this list. And I just want you to pop the ones in the chat that, again, sort of resonate to you. So, it could be lack of customer insight. So we're actually amazed by how many of our clients tell us that they haven't done research in years, because obviously it costs a lot of money. But if you haven't done customer research, then essentially you're burning through a budget that, without sort of understanding what your customers are looking for, perhaps. If we look at number 4, so poor interdepartmental collaboration. So companies will often sort of continue without getting everybody together and making sure that we're all facing in the same direction. And Gary's actually going to talk about a client where this was one of their major problems, actually, a bit later on. But it's obviously important to align client teams, and it's not uncommon in the business where everyone might be looking after individual bits of the business, but if you can bring everyone together as one team, then we found you can obviously get better results. And I think number 6, for example, so I think Einstein's theory of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And we are guilty of this as an agency when we're sort of, working on new business. But today we're doing something slightly different that we've not done before. So hopefully this is an approach for us to try something different and to get a different outcome. And the last one for me, which I think really stands out, poor time management. So we know that there's certain events that run throughout the year that are on the same dates every year: Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, etc. And I think it's just about sort of pre-planning. So, I mean, a few times we've been given a brief quite, with limited time. And I know there's plenty of reasons that this happens internally. But at the same time, it does affect the strategic thinking, it affects the creativity, it affects the production. So I think these are, just things to be mindful of. And these are sort of ones that resonate with us. So if you can, sorry, Gary, did you want to add anything else to that?
No, just an observation that, I use the Einstein's theory of madness quote all the time. And I was actually just doing some research on it the other day. And there is a question over whether Einstein did actually say that or not. So they don't need to attribute it to. It's always easy to say, Einstein's theory of madness, don't you? So I'll try and dig out and find out who did actually say that. Okay, shall we move on? Shall we move on? Got some good responses coming in here. 8 and 11, not knowing what. Yeah, in fact, Rachel, thank you. The whole thing of Donald Rumsfeld, the things we know, the things we know we don't know, but the things we don't know could be things that bite us on the backside so frequently and regularly. So I love that ability to try and discover the things that we don't know. And I was talking to a colleague earlier on this afternoon, and he said, no, we think about it as what's the next big, excuse my language, what's the next big fuck up that's going to happen we're not aware of, and what are we going to do to manage that when it comes? So, you know, it's just being aware of those things can be really, really insightful and enlightening. All right, let's crack on. We've got a couple of case histories that we want to talk about. And again, you know, anybody that wants to chime in as we go, please do feel free to put anything into the chat. The only reason I'm using case histories, or we're using case histories, is to identify a process to maximize budget efficacy. And you know, any agency that's out there watching this will also, we've got our process to do this. We've got a process which I'll talk about in a sec, called the 5 Simple Truths, about elevating the truths of the brand and the consumer and so on. Every agency will have a process. And it's always good to question that process, but the reason I'm using these 2 case histories is they do follow that process. So let me take you through the first one. The first one is insights driven, very much about the insights which helped us to overcome 2 of their major challenges. One of them is they're a UK tour operator. They're part of a listed company. I'm not going to say who the brand is, and it would be unfair because nobody really wants to air their dirty washing in public. But we managed to get some great results out of the work we did with them. But they had major internal communications challenges in a building with 2 floors, and there was literally siloed mentality between the 2 floors: the sales, the marketing, the product management people. Basically, the whole thing. Everybody was doing their own thing and thought they were the heroes of the business. So the brief that came to us from the marketing director was, got 2 problems to solve. One is our internal comms. We need to sort that out first of all. But also we recognise we don't have any customer differentiation. We work in largely a commoditized market that is difficult to, when it comes to buying a holiday, and when everything else is the same in terms of the destination I'm going to, the experiences I'm going to have, the cost, etc. And of course you can go to your gold, silver, bronze price differentiation. But if you haven't got that customer differentiation, what do? And I'll mention this again later. If you've got no USP, you have to create an emotional connection. So the project for us started there of those 2 key issues. So our challenge is really to understand what the internal misalignment was all about, why there was lack of collaboration, and the fact that there was no clear understanding of the internal issues until it got to a point where the board was saying, we think we've got a problem here, but we don't know what the problem is. Let's find out. Then understanding the lack of differentiation, and understand that we needed to get customer insights to be able to deliver against the weak customer proposition and the competitive differentiation. And all of this, the insights from internal research and from external research helped us to get to where we needed to get to. I'm just going to show you this process, and I'm actually going to put it up on my screen next to me, because on my screen there it's all very small. So starting in the left-hand side, the top box, we recognise we need to get everything on the table. Get everything on the table, warts and all, understand everything, so that you can really start to embrace the challenge and the opportunity to say, okay, if we're going to be spending money, how can we spend that really effectively? We run an internal workshop. We call it the 5 Simple Truths. We bring all the departments together, as many people, not everybody. You have the chairman at one end of the table and sales, marketing person who's only been in the business for a short period of time. And in fact, I had a situation with one 5 Simple Truths workshop where small company, about 40 people, chairman who'd been in the company for 25 years, and the newbie sitting at the other end of the table, and there's about 8 people in between, different responsibilities. And the chairman said something, and John, call him John for the sake of it, who'd been in the business for 15 years and was very much frontline sales, peered down the table and looked down to his chairman. He said, I never knew that about our company. I never knew that that's the way you thought that we were presenting ourselves. And it's only because they'd not talked about it. And the way that changed their internal, changed the chairman's perspective, because he hadn't told people part and parcel of their story. It changed the sales guy's point of view, because he had something new to go out and talk about. So it really is just getting everybody together and understanding what's missing to actually get that collaboration, cohesiveness within the team. In the pink box, number 2, research, external customer research and agency insights. We're not a research company, but we value the whole thing of desk research, as well as going out and doing external research. With this company, we actually spoke with existing customers, lapsed customers, rejectors, to understand what it was about the company that either they felt was amazing. They could be regular customers using the travel company year after year. They might have done it once and not come back, or they might have just rejected straight off. And we actually managed to talk to some of those people. And those insights, like location, insights are absolutely key to where we got to. And I say that with any brief and any client and any project. Insights will lift your effectiveness well above the bar of normality, if that's the right word. Yellow box, the internal comms program. Once we'd had the internal workshop, once we'd spoken with staff right the way through the business, and we really understood where the problem was. Everybody thought they were the hero. They were missing out. Who was the real hero in their business? And it's actually the guys that were out taking the customers, the holiday makers, around and giving them the best experience of their lives, or their best holiday experience they've had in a long time. Once we understood that, we could tell the story, get everybody working in the same direction. Created a video, brought all 200 people together, presented it to them, and they realized the company they were working for, their role in the company, and how they could march forward side by side with their colleagues in different departments to the benefit of the company and growth and profitability and their own personal well-being within the company. So we sorted that part of that challenge out. Again, once you've sorted those things out, your budget effectiveness increases remarkably. And then the other part of the puzzle, brand positioning and proposition. As I said, they didn't have a unique sales proposition, but through the research, we were able to establish a strong customer proposition with a clear and distinctive message. Again, if you don't have a unique sales proposition, you need to create an emotional one. And the emotional one, in this respect, made them stand out head and shoulders against their competition. Well, I would say that, but it worked extremely well in that respect. The 5 simple truths I mentioned. There's a paper that you can just download. It's a one-pager. It gives you an understanding of how we use the 5 simple truths and how the sorts of things that we've looked for to be able to get everything on the table to elevate all that information to understand where the brand is, where the company is, what the opportunities are. The internal truths, the brand truths, the external truths, consumer truths, and one of my favorite, the inconvenient truth. And often the inconvenient truth is one that people don't want to talk about. It's the skeleton in the cupboard. But understanding that skeleton can actually, where that skeleton is and why it's there in the first place, can really help to ensure that your agency is not delivering things which will get rejected by the board or will have any issues when it actually hits the street with your marketing campaign. As I said, you can just drop me an email and I'll send you a PDF copy of the 5 simple truths. So the outcomes of that particular case history, we had an aligned team, clear vision, clear goals, everybody working collaboratively and recognizing who it is in the business or what their role in the business was to achieve efficiency, effectiveness, increased sales and profitability. And then from the consumer point of view, a distinct and unique positioning, which is still being used 4 years on. And that warms the cockles of our hearts to see that a piece of work that we did is still being used, and that positioning is totally unique to them. Mm. And breathe. I'm going to talk for a second.
It's interesting what you're saying, Gary, actually about insights. Like, I think they're absolutely vital and they drive sort of everything that we do. We've just had another example. So we've just worked on a recent TV ad where the insight was that kids are fussy eaters. So we took the fussy eaters insight as being that sort of real universal truth, and then we could build around that into, get into what the customer was actually facing. And I think, they're absolutely critical. Otherwise, you could be making it up as you go along. And it's just really important to never just assume anything about our customers or the market.
Alana, could you just ask a question there? You're talking about a TV commercial, and insights for that level of work is really important. But if you're doing a bit of point of sale for Superdrug or a poster or whatever, do you consider that unique insight, or the insight, is as vital for a static poster as it is for a TV commercial or a whole brand campaign?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, it can vary. I think they're not absolutely essential, but I think the more insights we can get, the better, because obviously it means that we're fully understanding who our audience are, and we can, create something that really relates to them as opposed to what we think they're thinking.
And that's integral to our briefing. That if you haven't got an insight, we should ask for one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
great. It's a sort of rhetorical question there, but if and the more and more, the next case history that I'm going to talk about is a brand called Wash and Go, which I'm sure most people have heard of. And in fact, it's our client who always drives the whole thing about insights and how important they are and what the backstory would be. And so it's conditioned us to recognizing that insights really do maketh the campaign. So case history 2, Wash and Go. So 2-in-1 men's shampoo and conditioner. In the 1980s, they ran a TV campaign, which was, I think, Procter & Gamble and the brand at the time, or it might have been Batiste. I think Batiste came for Procter & Gamble. And for those of you of a certain age will remember, take 2 bottles into the shower. Not me. I just wash and go. And that was parodied again later on by Procter & Gamble from the original TV commercial. But it's a heritage brand. It's a product that sits on the shelves of all good retailers for £1 a bottle. Even with the price increase that they're trying to get in at the moment. I think I saw it on Tesco's shelf for £1.10 the other day. And then I went into another Tesco's and I saw it on special, probably with my Tesco's Club points, for £1. But it's £1 a bottle shampoo. And that presents its own problems when you look at the competition. So the key objectives with this particular brief was to optimize a small budget. And when I say small budget, it's a decent budget, but it's very small. Less than 1% of the major competitor. The major competitor is Head and Shoulders. And they're spending multi-millions. And it's not only them as a competitor, one of the largest competitors, but it's all the Elects and every other men's hair grooming product that somebody's going to either throw into their sports bag or they got on the cabinet in the bathroom. So spending a considerable amount less in the first instance is a major challenge. And then to enable a deep level of consumer engagement, the target audience for this brand is 18 to 34-year-old men, of which there are over 7 million in the UK, the length and breadth of the UK. So we can't even be geo-targeted and say, most of these people live in Barnet or in London, the South East. They're spread right the way across the country. And then you've probably got a halo around that. You've probably got 16-year-old to 40-year-old. So it makes it even more. So how do we have that deep level of engagement and keep the brand in the target audience's mind and ultimately sell more product? That's what it's all about. So they were our challenges. I'm going to go straight to the solution. And for us, the solution was actually having a brave client, a very brave client. When we started with this brand 5 years ago, we started off with it was just straightforward, I think it was a press campaign, small budget, even smaller budget. But then we started to look at it with the client in terms of, okay, the insights that the target audience that they're probably going down, they're probably playing soccer themselves, football themselves at the weekend. They go to the sports club, they stick a bottle of shampoo in the bag. But this client was allowed us to take risks, and we were leveraging people like Robbie Savage. Robbie Savage, as many will know, is a footballer from how many years ago? 10 years ago, I think he was playing maybe only 5 years ago. Lovely long golden locks, beautiful hair, and he's now a football pundit. And we took the story that what would Robbie Savage do after football punditry, and we made up the mockumentary idea that he was going to open up his own barber shop, and so he wanted to learn about how to cut hair. So we had this amazing series of mockumentary videos that we created. We only had Robbie for a day. Great guy to work with, very creative himself. But it was, we didn't have any idea what was going to happen getting Robbie Savage in front of the camera. But it worked really well. And that took us into engagement with Barnet Football Club, Barnet Hair, for those of you who know, Cockney Rhyming Slang, Barnet Hair, Barnet Fair Hair. We worked with Barnet, April Fool's joke. and on the notion that Wash and Go had actually bought the football club and was rebranding it to Great Barnet, and then to a range of football influencers that enabled us to embrace football at a grassroots level. So where you had Joe Hart a number of years ago actually promoting Head and Shoulders, the essential truth of this, or the insight, was actually nobody really believed that Joe Hart uses Head and Shoulders, or that the teams at Liverpool had Gillette's plastered across there. Do they actually use it? So we're talking about a very, very different approach. Talking at grassroots level enabled us to embrace influencer marketing and allowing those football influencers to do the talking for us, and the brand getting involved where it felt it had a job to do. And the key thing about Wash and Go is all about speed and efficiency. Again, why take one bottle into the shower? It's all about getting in there, washing your hair, getting out and down the pub. That's a bit of a crude analogy, but it's about speed and efficiency on the pitch, and then in the shower, down and out, enjoying yourself. Lovely thing to hear. The Italian brand owner recently said that everything that we do for Wash and Go is marketing with soul, and that's because we were unable to build a story over 4 years, which was very much about what the consumer wanted to hear. They wanted to see this brand as just being engaged, and that was what was making our small spend work really effectively. And for us, it's all about authenticity and integrity. I do feel like I'm presenting here, and I do apologise. I'm open to chatting about it if anyone wants to chat with me. So that was a great result, just being seen in marketing with soul. In fact, it reminds me, I think it was Nike, and the line "Just Do It" apparently came from the CMO of Nike when he was visiting Regan and Kennedy, the agency. We had a great brainstorming session, and this is urban myth. And the CMO just said, "You know what I like about you guys? You just do it." So he actually said it. I love the thought that the client said, "Just do it," and then the agency said, "Hey, great, that's a great line. Let's run with that." So marketing with soul, I think, is really lovely. And the results for this have been extraordinary. And we've been working with these influencer guys over the last 4 years. But in the last year, you've got the big guy, True Geordie, who has an amazing program with about 4 other football guys. Mark Goldbridge, who's Manchester United, he's got a huge following. And then we've recently been working with the Falcons, father and son couple, who have very entertaining content. And that's what's giving to our target audience content that they are consuming through social media on a regular basis. We're not advertising to them; they're just part of the conversation. So the views, over 31 million views, and these aren't a view of a banner. This is content that they watch for, could be anything up to an hour or so, and Wash and Go is part of that conversation. So the brand gets imbued in a very, very different way. And during lockdown, we needed to keep sales going. So actually driving direct to buy from Amazon has been very effective as well. But the most important thing here is actually this men's hair care is actually quite a declining market. But Wash and Go have seen an increase in their market share over the last 5 years. And we can't attribute that to everything that we're doing, but it's part and parcel of the journey. But we're starting to see how we can take a small budget and make it work really effectively, because we're planning, challenging, and we have a client that's willing to take those risks. But they're calculated risks. So we're not being stupid with client budgets. Mm. So, Alana.
Yeah, so I'll just do a quick summary. So just flick to the next slide. So I think it's safe to say that insights role, like we've talked about insights a lot, but we think that these are obviously super important to not only drive the creative, but also bring a positive return on marketing investment. Taking risks, like Gary was just saying. So calculated risks, not necessarily risks with the budget, but it's good to stand out and do something different to ensure that what you're doing is not just going to be run of the mill. Your marketing needs to stand out essentially in a really noisy marketplace. And like Gary was saying earlier, be prepared to question your own strategy or your agency's strategy. So are they confident? Would they put their money where their mouth is and do a payment by results approach? We've done this a couple of times, and actually it kind of shows how confident you are. And always ask those questions. I'm sure you do anyway. It's your budget, so you can ask as many questions as you like. And then I think rush slowly was a really key one, Gary, which you obviously talked about earlier, because it's one of your clients' sort of sayings. But I think that's a really important one as well.
Thanks, Alana. For me, this is all about having a conversation about how can we all do a better job of what we do. How can we all make our clients' investment work effectively? And I think there are times where we're guilty of not challenging briefs, not challenging or questioning why is this being done, what needs to be done, and so on and so forth. So whether your agency and you're asking these questions, if you are and you've found a way of actually helping your clients to be more effective with their spend, please tell us. I want to learn something from this. If you're a client and you feel that there is something missing, whatever it may be, and that's something that's always niggling at you, let's have a chat about it. Always happy to have a talk. It doesn't have to be a piece of business at the end of it. I think it's just always good to chew the cud over what works and what doesn't work. And as I said, if you can rush slowly without damaging the need to drive sales, then please do so. There is a copy of the 5 Simple Truths. I say it's a one-pager, but it might spark something off in the way that you ask the questions, what questions you ask, whether you look to see if you've got the information that's going to help you make informed decisions. If you've got insights about your customers. If you haven't, really do urge that you get them. Doesn't have to be a big research project. Just talk to a few customers and know that you're saying the right thing and selling in the right way. So please do drop me an email and I'll send you a copy of that with pleasure. Please, hello, is anybody out there? We've got some people coming in the chat. Thank you. Selwyn, Savage Cuts was a very funny idea. It was very, very amusing, and we had a lot of fun creating the work on Robbie Savage. But actually, just following that route enabled us to do so much more than if we were just doing another press campaign or we didn't have money to go on TV. And probably I think what we've done much more effective because it just gets into the psyche of the consumer in a very, very different way. Does anybody get any questions? Cool. Okay, well, we're done. I'm going to just pick up a last page here. I said no commercials, but very happy to talk to anybody. We've got some. I'm not going to sell. I'm not here to sell. I'm going to go back to the Q&A. That's far better. That's a far better slide to end on. Guys, thank you so much for turning up. Thank you for being here. If you're watching it on YouTube Live or LinkedIn and you want to chat, you want the 5 Simple Truths doc, please do get in touch. I've enjoyed putting this together. Makes me think about the way that we take advice from our clients, the way that we should engage on things that we feel aren't necessarily good enough to be able to take the brief and turn it into a first-class piece of creative that will deliver results. So, I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm learning all the time. If anybody wants to teach me anymore, please feel free to do so. Alana, thank you for co-sharing with me. And
thank you everyone for joining.
Enjoy the rest of the day, the sunshine, and the heat wave that's still to come, I believe. Bye.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.